All right. Welcome to our Source Service Scholars Project Information Session and Q&A for our community-based organization partners. My name is Lydia Hickey. I'm Assistant Director of Source, and my colleague Janae Johnson is here as well. If you want to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Janae Johnson, Assistant Director of Academic Service Learning here at Source, and happy to answer some questions today.
Awesome. Well, Janae and I co-run the Source Service Scholars Program, and we're really excited to get some new projects rolling for the new academic year coming up. So a couple of things we'll be going through today. We'll go through just some basic information about Source, not doing a huge deep dive there, but especially for some of our newer partners who are kind of digging in, getting involved with some of our programming. And then we'll dive into an overview of the Source Service Scholars Program. We have some example projects. We want to talk about preceptor responsibilities and then what you need to include in your project proposal and general time for questions and answers as well. So about Source, so we are the Community Engagement and Service Learning Center for the 3 health professional schools at Johns Hopkins. So these are graduate level students. They are highly trained. They are definitely, have a lot more experience than some of the undergraduate students. So they, we really want to be able to build mutually beneficial partnerships between our graduate health professional students and the Baltimore community to promote health and social justice. So all of the work that Source does is grounded in our values, which include reciprocity, justice, service, and collaboration. Our guiding principles for our community engagement, and these guiding principles we also teach to our students who are involved in all of our programming. This is how we build our partnership and work together with our community members through shared vision and values, mutuality and respect, transparency and communication, shared decision making, and commitment. So service learning is some of the pedagogy that we use with our students. This is a structured learning experience that combines community service with preparation and reflection. So this is different from, volunteer opportunities where, those are super helpful. I don't want to knock anything about volunteer opportunities. But in those kind of scenarios, students are often kind of showing up to a site probably without a lot of context or information. They may or may not have researched the organization or the community that they're working with. They show up, they're given a task that they complete within a few hours and then leave. So service learning is really different from that. We are responding to community identified concerns, and our students are really learning about the context in which their service is provided. So this is one of the ways that we respond to community identified concerns, is that we don't tell you what to do for your community-based projects. We really want you to submit your proposals, and we're certainly here to help you identify those needs, but we really want to be working in response to what your organization needs most. So our Source Service Scholars Program, this is a unique opportunity for our students to be working in your community-based organization with a longitudinal commitment for up to, it's 125 to 150 hours of service. This is typically through the duration of the, traditional academic school year. So that would be about August through May. There is a little bit of opportunity for students to potentially start sooner, possibly in like July for maybe some of those students, or maybe even go a little bit later than May to June. Some of that depends on the student themselves and what program they're in. You'll learn more about that student when you go through the interview process with them, which we'll get to that in a moment. But the traditional timeline for those 125 to 150 hours is August through May. Our students maintain a consistent presence presence with the community-based organization throughout the duration of that project, it averages about 3 to 4 hours a week for the commitment. We do ask that our preceptors, that means the leaders from the community-based organization who are supporting those students, we ask that you have some flexibility because these are students. So, they might want to take a week off for spring break, or if they have an exam a specific week, they might not be able to commit the full 3 to 4 hours. But we do teach our students that they need to be very, very communicative ahead of time so that their preceptor knows exactly what their availability and expectations are. This program is open to any student that's enrolled in the Johns Hopkins University Schools of Public Health, Medicine, and Nursing. And our students are working as project managers. So the community-based organization is determining the project, and then they are hiring a student as a project manager to carry out that project. And they recruit a team of volunteers to assist them in that project. And then, we ask that our community-based organizations in their project proposals have some ideas as well for what that volunteer recruitment might look like and what those volunteer roles might entail as well. That's all in the application. And then our students in the Source Service Scholars Program, in addition to the support that they're receiving on site from you, the community-based organization partner, they receive a lot of guidance and support from the Source Center, and this project in particular being led by Janae and I. So they receive training and guidance from us through we have monthly sessions. We go through service learning theories and reflection practices, interprofessional core competencies, project management, volunteer recruitment, delivering and reporting and outcomes, and more. And then these Source Service Academy sessions are offered monthly for about 2.5 to 3 hours a month. On top of that, Janae and I do one-on-one consultations with students as well. This year, we ended up doing that mandated on a quarterly basis, but then I kept office hours open for students who wanted to meet more frequently. So our doors are always open to students who have questions or kind of want to brainstorm ideas on how to best tackle their project. So your application components, these are aligned with the 5 community engagement guiding principles that I mentioned earlier, but your application components. So you need to describe your mission and how you'll orient scholars to the work that your organization does, because we want students to really have that context of your organization as they're diving in. Then you are providing project guidance throughout the academic year. And then we're really keeping in touch with you as well from the Source team. So we're just really keeping that line of communication open on both sides. We ask that each community-based organization has a primary preceptor identified as well as a secondary preceptor for their Source Service Scholar student. This is really helpful for a lot of reasons. It can be as simple as, okay, my primary preceptor is out of the office on vacation for a week. The Source Service Scholar has a question. They just need to have a point of contact to go to. But it's always just really helpful for, life happens, for us to have multiple points of contact and really keep that, that line of communication open. Along the same expectation with lines of communication is if you're specifying on-site, hybrid, or any other format for your project collaboration. You are proposing the responsibilities, the service project deliverables, and outcomes. You're proposing ideas for possible volunteer roles for the project. And then if you're submitting an application for the Source Service Scholars Program, if you're submitting that project proposal, that means that you're committing to the availability to interview any of the SSS applicants that come through. So you're also carefully reviewing the core competency, or excuse me, the core CBO preceptor expectations, and you're committing to, there's just one preceptor training where we meet in the summer or fall, and then we'll have, your regular engagement with your student so that, there's that open line of communication. CBO projects and preceptors. So SSS projects should be Baltimore focused, social justice oriented, collaborations including options for on-site or hybrid, sometimes on-site, sometimes remote. I think most of our students ended up doing hybrid work. I think that was kind of the norm, but students are expected to spend, a good portion of their time at the site of the organization so that they really are engaging directly with community members, directly with CBO members. So CBO projects. So you are working to develop an academic year-long project. So something that will last that duration of, kind of August through May, about 3 to 4 hours per week for a student to carry out that project. We do have up to 15 spaces for projects. We currently filled 5, so we do have 10 more spaces for ongoing Source Service Scholars projects for the 2025-2026 academic year. And then we just want to clarify that this is not an internship, but we are asking for a specific project, a focused area that students can work on and have a goal to reach by the completion of this program in May. They're really working on developing those interprofessional leadership skills through this project management rather than just doing an internship. And just to dive into that a little bit more, so I think just to kind of clarify what this role is, that intern is someone who might assist with program management activities or work on kind of general office tasks, things like maybe filing or purchasing materials or things like that that assist the office in general. But the project manager, which is this role for the Source Service Scholar program, this is someone who has a specific project that they are interviewing to be matched with. You are choosing the most highly qualified candidate to match the needs of this specific project. Students are working with you in a partnership to design a plan of action towards that final deliverable. The student is working on retaining a team of volunteers to move towards the completion of that project. And then I just want to name too, this is a question that's come up as a concern from our community-based organization partners is, okay, what if some things change in our organization? What if we have to make some adaptations? We expect some adaptations to happen. So the project title that you submit now or before a deadline on May 11th, might not be exactly what the project looks like in May of next year when the student submits those deliverables. But this is why it's really important that we keep those open lines of communication. We definitely expect, some things change from time to time with our community-based organizations, and we're totally available to work with you and work through any changes. But we work off of that project plan and strategy together. And then CBO preceptors. So again, that's the 2 point of contacts from the community-based organization that would be communicating regularly with both Janae and I, as well as the student they hire. We expect that at least the primary preceptor is completing the Source Online Preceptor module, and that includes orientation of the scholar that you hire, and possibly any volunteers too that are coming on through the scholar. You're supervising the scholar that you hire, as well as recruited volunteers throughout the duration of the project. You determine what those regular established meetings look like, but something that you and your scholar mutually agree upon to provide enough guidance for them to complete the project. And then we also ask that you come up with a sustainability plan as well, so that the project, it depends on the project in particular, but that there is kind of a plan for when the program ends for that student, where those materials go and how things carry on with the organization. A couple of other details, we ask that you complete a mid-year and final evaluation so that we can really take your feedback to heart. You'll need to verify the scholar hours, since they do have that 125 to 150 hour requirement. And then we just ask that you remain flexible too. We tell our students that they need to be extremely communicative with you if they have an exam coming up or things like that and need to, change their hours. But just ask that you remain flexible and open to that line of communication. We're going to continue, but I'm just going to pass things over to my colleague, Janae.
Thanks, Lydia. Appreciate it. So we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the project example. So I know you may be thinking, like, okay, Lydia's talked about what can be submitted. As an SSS project, we'll kind of go a little bit more into detail about what types of projects can be done, what things will look like from the scholar, and then also too what it would look like from the guise of the volunteers that's a part of the project. So for the first one, the implementation of health-related curriculum. We also have community outreach, so helping building partnerships based on like very related business communities or different existing organizations in the Baltimore community, as well as like marketing and social media outreach. We also have the opportunity to have advocacy projects, program design. So if you are looking and interested into forming a new program or carrying out like an extension of it, that's also an opportunity as well too. So again, it could be a program that is completely from scratch that you're trying to kind of get started on. You maybe have not had the manpower to get that done, or you may be trying to revamp an already established program, so more of a service extension of already what is within your organization. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. So for our first one, for the implementation of health-related curriculum, so in the role of the scholar, so again, the scholar is the one that would lead and help organize the other 3 to 4 volunteers. They help develop the plan to examine what is going on nationally, what's happening, what's going on, and what's the evidence of the curriculum. As well as kind of like what the outreach would look like to the volunteers that's helping. So will they be creating surveys? Will they be doing curriculum reviews? Also building curriculum based on possible feedback from the organization or the population in which the organization serves. For that project, the role of the volunteer would be to examine the curriculums in the plan, do some researching for some of those best practices that would inform the curriculum that's being built, and then survey clients as well in compiling those survey results. So again, the service scholar being more so of the project manager leading things, but also still guiding the volunteers as well too in different tasks. Community outreach being researching organizations, agencies, or businesses that may align well with the alignment of the mission and values of the organization, as well as developing different plans. And the role of the volunteer, it would consist of possibly conducting the interviews with the businesses, as well as potentially partnering with other organizations too that have similar alignments in the missions and values. Far as our advocacy projects, you could typically see the role of a scholar being planning like the design for it, what like the awareness campaign may look like, what events may look like, what the social media strategies for outreach for the campaign may look like, as well as engaging the volunteers, helping with logistics, and also helping possibly with writing grants for the event in order for it to be sponsored. And then the role of the volunteer would kind of look like helping with conducting the outreach as well, helping with the logistics, also taking ownership of the social media accounts as well, with helping with the campaign, as well as helping with different logistics for the event at hand. So again, still following that project manager model, where the source service scholar is the one helping lead these initiatives, but also the volunteers helping carrying out the actual task that goes towards those actual goals that you all are trying to reach. And then the service extension. So if again, there is possibly a program that you already have that exists within the organization that you're trying to build upon, that source service scholar could help create like a recruitment event, where you're trying to increase more volunteers. This said program that already exists. Maybe you're wanting to enhance and improve the training and orientation for this existing program, as well as possibly even developing some reflective activity and engagement. And so what the role of the volunteer would look like is also making those connections with the local schools in order to coordinate these opportunities, as well as work finding the information to help develop and improve these trainings and orientations, and also leading and assisting in reflective activities. So again, a lot of what the role of the volunteer would do is to really reach the goal of what the expected outcomes and deliverables are that you all are proposing project initially, to make sure that you all are taking the actionable steps to get to that delivery by the end of the SSS term, which is in May. A little bit about Hopkins Engage. So Hopkins Engage is actually our platform that our volunteers and our interns utilize to really organize the partnerships and engagements that they have been partaking in. And so all of our community-based organizations utilize this as well as all the students that work with Source also utilize Hopkins Engage. If you have not already had your Hopkins Engage administrative account set up, please do let us know as soon as possible, or feel free to contact the source at jhu.edu email. There should be a person who typically handles the internship recruitment as well as like special events. So, just make sure there is a trustworthy individual to take the administrative lead of having the Hopkins Engage account. It's very pivotal that you all are having a really strong understanding of Hopkins Engage and how it works. As a source service scholars that do partake in these opportunities with you, they will be implementing imprinting their hours on this platform. So for example, if they are to go to a regular team meeting with you all, they may get 2 hours on a weekly basis. That source service scholar would go and input that 2 hours on Hopkins Engage, and it's up for the CBO with the administrative access to Hopkins Engage to go in and improve that. We really do encourage our source service scholars to put their hours in regularly. I know Lydia had a funny joke yesterday about how many times she could plug in, how many times we reminded the students about putting in those hours. It's super imperative. It's super easy to kind of just get lost with the track of time and forget to put those hours. Again, our source service scholars, it's expected of them to have those 125 to 150 hours. So it's really important to also to them as their preceptors to ensure that they are putting those hours in on a regular basis, as you want to make sure they're consistently getting credit for the work that they have done, and making sure that they are not forgetting to input those hours, so that when the time comes for actually releasing their stipends, they're getting paid in a timely manner. So we'll jump into a little bit of the timeline of things for SSS round two. As you know, our applications opened already, and we are expecting to close those applications on May 11th. Again, if you have any questions at all, if you're needing assistance, or you're just kind of wondering, are these good responses, or you're not really sure what your project is, or if you should be adding other elements of it, Lydia and myself, we are available before the 11th deadline to provide those opportunities for you. Between the May 11th and May 16th, Source, we will be reviewing the applications. We'll be following up with the CBOs. We'll be following up with you all, letting you know if there are some changes that needs to be made on your project, if your project was accepted, if there's any edits we need you to make. So we will take about a week to do that review process. Between the months of May and June is the recruitment of students to apply and participate as well. So we'll host information sessions for them too. We'll also do some recruitment recruitment, and their application will also take place during those time periods. On June 17th is the deadline for the students to apply and indicate which of the CBO projects will be taken on. On June 27th, June 24th through June 30th, we'll do an internal review of the source team, and we'll narrow down the top applicants. So we know that there is a lot of source service scholars that really want this opportunity. It's a very competitive experience. And so what our source team help and take the load off of our CBOs is to really do a very intentional internal review to find those top applicants, about 3 to 4 top students, so that you're not having to pick from 15 and 16 different bright scholars to potentially be paired with your project. So we do try and find the top candidates for you so that we can help you all make a decision based on maybe 3 or 4 individuals instead of a larger pool. As a CBO, you must be available from July 7th to the 25th. That is when you would do the interviews for the position. So after we conduct our internal review, we get back with you all and let you know what the top applicants were for your project. You will then conduct an internal review for the position. You'll be allowed to do the interviews in person or virtually. We do ask for flexibility because this is the summertime, and we do have a lot of students who may not have moved on campus, who may still be away. So just being really flexible with that. So please just make sure you mark your calendar to accommodate interview students during this time. On June 25th, the preceptor and students, you will report your rankings. So you will let us know what is your preference. And as far as for the CBOs, it'd be your preference and your top applicant. And then as far as the scholars, it would be their top picks as far as the projects they want to be matched with. And then the summer of 2025, it's what it should say, the preceptors will also complete a online module, very easy module as well too, just to kind of give you all some insight on what is expected as a preceptor. And then in late early September of 2025, you all will engage in face-to-face sessions with the scholars and also work on development and beginning just understanding what the ins and outs of the program will entail. So we'll answer a couple of the frequently asked questions, and of course, leave some time at the end if there's any additional questions that may be had. So a question that we is my proposed project is really for a one student internship project. Is that suitable for a source service scholar project? The answer for that is that it needs to be something that a student can really manage and a student team can manage. So it needs to be sustainable to endure an entire academic year. So again, I know Lydia really reiterated in the beginning that this needs to be something that is going to be fit for an actual team to do. So there needs to be a source service scholar that is going to be responsible for about 3 to 4 volunteers. So the project has to be sustainable enough and enough depth to be able to sustain the multiple bodies that will be a part of the project, as well as the duration of the academic year from July, August to May of 2026. Next, we typically get a question, which is, I've had a source service scholar in the past. Can I apply for another one again? Yes. So if you are a CBO who has taken advantage of the Source Service Scholars Program before, you are able to apply again. However, it cannot be a repeat of a past project that's already happened. It has to be something distinctively different. We do try and give priority to new organizations, so we will have to make that disclaimer that we do try and get those new organizations involved that haven't had an opportunity to promote that equity. But again, we are not saying that even if you have submitted a project before that you can't, but just to be sure that it's not the same as a project that's been turned in. It can even be maybe an extension of where you all left off, but it cannot be the identical project that's been submitted before. Why do we need 2 preceptors from our organization? So 2 preceptors are requested to ensure that organizations has more than one person that's aware of the scholar's work. So as we know, and even before the climate of today's country that we're in, we've seen so many changes currently that happens with federal regulations and by the administration. So there's been a lot of changes with preceptors just this semester alone for us, which has not been precedented before. So it's really imperative to have that second preceptor because with a lot of changes and a lot of times even with these stations, we have a lot of personnel changes. So it ensures that our source service scholar continues to have someone in the organization that is there to support their work. When we leave it all to one person, if that one person is to no longer work with the organization, or if there's to be any federal regulations or any changes, it's really hard to continue to support the source service scholar. There's no one there that really knows their work. It's really important to have that second preceptor. How many hours per week will a scholar work, and working a regular schedule? So again, as Lydia has mentioned, occasions already, the source service scholar project, it really just depends on how the preceptor and the source service scholar wants to schedule things. Of course, the source service scholar is required to have the 125, 150 hours completed for the entire year, but we typically see on average about 4 to 6 hours a week being used towards the source service scholar and in its engagement with the organization. We want you all to keep in mind that these students, and so that they also have other obligations outside of being a source service scholar, as well as just being flexible with the hybrid opportunities. Most of our organizations that we have picked up as a source service scholar have been very flexible with making the modality as hybrid to ensure that they're very aware of the fact that the students sometimes are not going to be able to make it to the site. So again, the autonomy is there for you to create the schedule that works and fits best for you all. I'm a busy professional. How much supervision is needed of the scholar? So preceptors, again, you want capacity to establish what those hours of meetings may look like, what supervision on your schedule may look like for yourself and for the scholar as well. So a lot of autonomy when it comes to figuring out what the schedule and what the dynamics will look like as far as meeting, as far as supervision. So that is something that will be left up to you and the scholar. So, and that's also another reason too why we say it's important to have those two preceptors to also be able to alleviate some of those supervising responsibilities. And then, of course, like stated earlier, our deadline for our SSS CBO round 2 is May 11th. Here is our QR code if you are interested in submitting a project application. At any point, if you have any questions about the application itself, if you would like to have a review before submitting, Lydia and I are available and we can either meet with you, you can send it to us via email, and we can maybe even give you feedback that way as well. However we can support you, we will make ourselves available. I'm not sure if there's anything else that you'd like to add, Lydia, but just wanted to ensure that we do let them know in any way that we can, or any capacity we can support you, that we are here to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Janae. I'm recording this session, so I will send, because I know there's a couple of folks who registered but weren't able to attend during the live time here. So don't worry, I'm sending the recording out to everyone. I'll send the slides out to everyone. I'll send the link out for the application, not just the QR code. And then, yeah, just as Janae mentioned, we're here. Let us know how we can support you. For any of the folks who are here, do you have any questions that we can answer now?
I feel like you guys you ladies did a very thorough job of explaining everything. We had a source.
Yeah.
We are a source partner for this year.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking to apply again for next year. But you answered all of the questions that I had, about returning, potential returning partners. So we were under, well, we had questions about, once you're a partner, are you always a partner, or do you apply every year? So
Oh,
from listening to you, it sounds like you apply every year as a CBO.
okay. Let me clarify. So as a community-based organization, once you're our partner with Source, you're our partner. every once in a while, if we have a community-based organization who hasn't done anything in partnership with us for years and years, then we might end that partnership. That's very rare though. Traditionally, like once you're a partner with us, you're a partner. And
Oh,
then
okay.
that means that you have access to any of our programming. But for our specific programming, if you want to do a specific program like the Source Service Scholars, you do have to apply each year because, like we said, you're not just like recycling the same project. We want to know
Yeah.
if you're doing an extension of a project or if there's a different project you're asking for. So, like next one up, like you are even, I hope you join us again because I know Nyla's had an awesome experience with you this year. So like, I hope you join us for next year for Source Service Scholars. We would love to have another project with you. But for example, even if you didn't do this specific project, regardless, next one up is still our partner and you have access to any of our programming. So just want to clarify the difference there.
Got you. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we love Nala, and it has
yeah,
been an awesome
yeah.
experience. We were thinking we do have a different project that we would like to kind of move forward with next year. So we're thinking about Source for
Yeah,
that.
let's go for it. That sounds great.
All right, thank you. But outside of that, you ladies did an amazing job of just kind of explaining everything. So thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Oh, hello everyone. I was kind of late joining in, so I'm sorry if I asked questions already been asked already. But we've been source a CBO on with you all for quite a few years now. Has anything majorly changed since the last round of the expectations for the scholars?
Jasper, can you remind me which organization you're with?
I'm with Intersection of Change, Marcus Place.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. No, so the Source Service Scholars, this project, there haven't been any like drastic changes. I think the interesting thing about this program in particular is that all of the projects look very, very different because the projects are just directly what you ask for. So the like basic guidelines of the program have not really changed much. There's a couple of minor administrative things, like we were able to increase our stipend for students to make it a little bit more competitive. So that's awesome that they get paid a little bit more. There's some of the like payment processes that are different based off of the health professional schools. Our hour requirement is 125 to 150 hours. It used to be like 150 hours. Now we give a little bit of a range because then that matches like minimum hourly wage, which is just something for like Johns Hopkins that they ask for. So there's like a couple of like administrative things in terms of our guidelines that have changed, but in terms of the project as a whole, a lot of that has really stayed the same. But obviously, if you're trying to think through what you want for a project and want some eyes and ears, just let Janae and I know how we can help.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Anything else for those folks that are in the Zoom room with us?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll send out the, I do have to jump to another meeting after this, so it might not be till the end of the day or maybe like first thing in the morning, but I'll get these slides out, the recording out, and the application link out. And then just if you need anything, let us know.
Will do. Appreciate you,
Thank
ladies.
y'all for
Thank you
coming.
both.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. Do the same.
Is the recording?
Just a second. Stop.